Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
It's already 1 p.m. in West Indonesian time. Therefore, we shall start this event, everyone. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, for your convenience during this event, we strongly and politely request to all participants to mute your microphone during this webinar. And we highly appreciate if you could turn on your video during this event. Thank you very much. It is an honor to me to inform you that among us here we have Honorable Dean of Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science, Mr. Abdul Kudus, PhD. Honorable the Head of Pharmacy Study Program, Dr. Apotheker Suendar, along with the staff. Honorable the speakers of today's webinar, Professor Dr. Syed Azhar bin Syed Sulaiman and Apotheker Diar Herawati, Master of Science. Respectable all the lecturers, the staff, and the participants. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to International Joint Webinar between Universitas Islam Bandung and University Sains Malaysia on Halal Pharmaceutical. It's been a very great honor for me, Hanifa Rahma, a pharmacy lecturer of Unisba who acts as a moderator for today's International Joint Webinar. Before going on this joint webinar, let's start by praising and being grateful to Allah Almighty for His blessing of health, faith, and Islam so that we can gather around in this event. Peace and blessing be upon the Prophet Muhammad SAW, his family, his companion, and his people until the end of time. Without further ado, let's open our agenda by reciting Basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In this webinar, we have invited Professor Dr. Syed Azhar bin Syed Sulaiman. He is a professor of clinical pharmacy, Pharmacy Faculty in University Sains Malaysia. He is going to explain about Halal Pharmacopeia. And we have invited also Apotheker Diar Herawati, Master of Science. She is a pharmacy lecturer of Unisba, Chief of Halal Science Research Group, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science. And she is going to explicate about safety in halal issues. Ladies and gentlemen, point of view of the next our agenda is watching a short video profile of Faculty Mathematics and Natural Science of Unisba.
Oke, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Innal hamdalillah nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udzu billahi min syururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina may yahdihillahu fala mudhillalah wa may yudhlil fala hadiyalah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. First of all, let us thank God, the Almighty, who has given His grace and guidance so that the joint webinar between Unisba and USM with the theme Halal Pharmaceutical can be held today. I welcome all of you to this seminar, which has received great attention, not only from Unisba, but also from the external academician. I express my highest gratitude and appreciation for the presenter from Unisba and from University Sains Malaysia. I believe that this seminar will be the source of innovative ideas, concept, and breakthrough in the development of halal pharmaceutical. This seminar will not be well organized without the support of various parties, especially sponsors and also from the committee from our faculty. Therefore, I want to express my gratitude. I especially thank to the organizing committee for their hard work, perseverance, and patience in preparing and organizing the seminar so that it can go well, smoothly, and successfully. Finally, through the seminar, let us extend the network and cooperation among all stakeholders, particularly among us, Unisba and USM. Thank you to you all. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abdul Kudus, PhD. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, point of view, the next our agenda is watching a short video profile of Faculty Mathematics and Natural Science of Unisba.
Diam dulu kalian. Yang dekat rumahku. Nah, terus kawan.
Bandung City is the largest metropolitan city in West Java province, which is also known as an education city, which has a scientific treasure and has many universities. One of these is Universitas Islam Bandung, which has established since 1958, based on the ideas of several Muslim figures. As a higher education, which has an Islamic academic cultures as its educational strategy, philosophically, Universitas Islam Bandung offers a comprehensive education concept based on the Islamic principles. Since its establishment, Unisba has launched 10 faculties of bachelor degrees, or S1, as follows: Sharia, Dakwah, Tarbiyah and Teacher, Law, Psychology, Mathematics and Natural Sciences, Engineering, Economic and Business, Communication Sciences, Medical Sciences, Postgraduate Programs S2, and Doctoral Programs S3. Support from Rector, lecturers, staff, and student creativities who keep innovating in developing superior educational facilities. To support academic activities, Unisba is stated as a major university, thus obtained an A accreditation from National Accreditation for Higher Education. Year to year, Unisba is increasingly showing its independence to become a leading university that proven from several national and international awards. One of them, in 2019, Universitas Islam Bandung achieved the international accreditation for 14 study programs, with the highest premier assessment, which conducted by the Accreditation Service for International Schools, College, and Universities based in the UK.
Sebagai perguruan tinggi swasta berdasarkan Islam, Universitas Islam Bandung atau Unisba memiliki nilai lebih dibanding perguruan tinggi swasta lainnya karena selalu memasukkan nilai keislaman dalam setiap aspek pengajaran, penelitian maupun pengabdian kepada masyarakat. Unisba menjadi sebuah perguruan tinggi Islam yang memberikan kontribusi dan solusi dalam menuntaskan berbagai permasalahan yang dihadapi masyarakat dan umat. Untuk itulah Unisba pada masa kini dan akan datang akan mendorong terwujudnya visi menjadi perguruan tinggi yang mandiri, maju dan terkemuka di Asia.
By trying to generate students as a student with 3M characters, Mujahid, Mujtahid, and Mujadid characters, to gather the superior generation with Akhlaqul Karimah, Unisba requires its students to take a part in the Islamic boarding program for new students, Islamic Boarding Program for Graduate Prospective, the Islamic Boarding Program of prospective doctors. This is the expected breakthrough to answer the time challenges, competitive challenges. This is also proven from national and international achievements that achieved by students.
Sebagai salah satu lembaga pendidikan Islam terkemuka di Jawa Barat, Universitas Islam Bandung berdiri pada tahun 1958 sebagai bentuk perjuangan para cendekiawan Islam untuk menghasilkan intelektual muslim yang mujahid, mujtahid, dan mujadid. Saat ini, Universitas Islam Bandung telah terakreditasi institusi dengan predikat amat baik dari Badan Akreditasi Nasional Perguruan Tinggi. Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam berdiri pada tahun 1972 dengan jurusan Statistika di tanggal 2 Juli 1973. Tak berhenti dari situ, kami hadir dengan jurusan Matematika serta Farmasi di tahun 2006. Dan di tahun 2021, kami pun akan hadir dengan program studi profesi apoteker. Bahkan kini, kami telah memiliki sertifikasi resmi pemerintah terkait pembelajaran, baik dari Badan Akreditasi Nasional Perguruan Tinggi hingga sertifikasi dan akreditasi internasional ISO 9001, juga Accreditation Service for International College atau ASICS. Tak hanya kemajuan program studi, Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam Universitas Islam Bandung juga dilengkapi dengan adanya fasilitas pembelajaran secara masif. Dari segi pengajar, kami memiliki tenaga pengajar terbaik di bidangnya, juga fasilitas pendukung seperti laboratorium, peralatan praktikum, hingga kurikulum pendukung penunjang pembelajaran. Adapun tagline yang kami junjung tinggi dalam Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam Universitas Islam Bandung, yakni Sains untuk Kemaslahatan Umat, yang membuat kami hadir dalam bidang penelitian dan pengabdian kepada masyarakat. Namun ada sebuah sisi yang membuat FMIPA berbeda dan begitu spesial, yakni visi kami yang berusaha untuk menjadi fakultas yang mandiri, maju dan terkemuka dalam bidang pendidikan, penelitian, dan pengaplikasian MIPA berdasarkan nilai-nilai Islam. Hal inilah yang membuat seluruh mahasiswa kami berbeda di dalam naungan mentor untuk tetap melaksanakan pembelajaran baik secara kurikulum resmi juga secara islami sebagai bekal pribadi Islam yang siap memberikan yang terbaik bagi bangsa dan negara. Fakultas Matematika dan Ilmu Pengetahuan Alam Universitas Islam Bandung. Sains untuk Kemaslahatan Umat.
Okay, I hope that you enjoy the short video as our introduction. The next agenda today is Tilawah of the first of the Holy Quran by Deden Miftah Fauzan and Khairunisha. The time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhan nasu kulu mimma fil ardi halalan thayyiban wa la tattabi'u khutuwatis syaitan ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم لكم عدو مبين صدق الله العظيم.
I seek refuge in Allah from the accursed Satan's temptation. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. O humankind, eat of that which is lawful and good on the earth, and follow not the footsteps of Shaitan. Verily, he is to you an open enemy. God Almighty speaks the truth. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Deden and Khairunisa. They are our students from Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science. Dear ladies and gentlemen, before going on the main session, I would like to invite the speakers and all our participants to join us in having a photo session together. Please turn on your video and the photo session will be guided by me. I will give a cue to you all and then the picture will be taken. Is it okay? Due to enormous number of participants, we will take a picture more than several times. So please be patient. All right. Are you ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Let's move to the next slide. 1, 2, 3. Let's move to the next slide. 1, 2, 3. Let's move to the next slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then the last slide. 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. Respectfully, ladies and gentlemen, I am grateful to all the participants who are attending this webinar right now. We're actually astonished that this webinar has pretty much people have already signed up for it, and they're coming from all around the world. They are lecturers, researchers, students, and even people who work in the pharmaceutical field among the participants, who come from a variety of backgrounds. As a result, I hope that this webinar will bring us together as a scholar and enthusiast to discuss the topic more thoroughly in this opportunity. As a result, I hope this webinar will meet your expectation and provide you with valuable information about Halal Pharmaceutical. Okay, let's talk about Halal Pharmaceutical for a moment. Around 1.6 billion Muslims live in the world. Accounting for nearly a quarter of the world population, Indonesia, as the largest Muslim population in the world, a country home to 12.7% of the world's Muslims. As the Muslim population grows, so does the public's knowledge of halal pharmaceutical products. Halal products are quickly becoming known around the world as the new standard for safety and quality assurance. Halal pharmaceutical products contain permissible ingredients and are produced according to Islamic rules and conditions. So that's a bit introduction for Halal Pharmaceutical. Before we move to our speaker, I want to explain several rules for all participants. First, for your convenience, during this event, we strongly and politely request to all participants to mute your microphone during this webinar. And we highly appreciate if you could turn on your video during this event. During the presentation, participants can ask in the chat room, and it will be collected and answered at the end of the session. When you submit a question, please write your name, institution, and for whom the question is for. Certificate will be given to all participants who attend the complete session. So please fill the attendee form through the link that will be provided in the chat room later after the end of second speaker presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, the next item of our agenda today is the speech of the first speaker, that is Prof. Syed, who is going to explain about Halal Pharmacopeia. Before that, I would like to read his curriculum vitae. Prof. Syed obtained Doctor of Clinical Pharmacy degree from University in Michigan, USA, and was also the former Dean for School of Pharmaceutical Science, University Sains, Malaysia. Currently, he is the country chairman for ACCP, the Halal Committee for Malaysia, Malaysia representative for Halal Education Program for OIC at global level, an expert in diabetes, osteoporosis, and infectious disease, where he worked closely with various world-level organizations, including WHO. He has published almost 600 papers, which include abstracts, book chapters, and publications in established journals around the world. His citation is about more than 16,000 with H index 59 and I-10 index 479. He is also editorial board member for various journals and various organizations around the world. He has received various awards around the world and locally, namely as the most excellent pharmacy educator at VAPA event, most prominent pharmacy educator award by ACCP and leadership award by Sudan Ministry of Health, awards by Ministry of Health Saudi Arabia, and many others. So if you have any question, please write down your question in English or Bahasa in the chat room during the presentation, because we will have open discussion at the end of the presentation. All right, without further ado, please Prof. Syed, the time is yours.
Right, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, today we have been an opportunity for all of us to be together here, and I would like to thank Unisba together with all the committee members, the organizing committee, for inviting me here. Since the schedule was a little bit tight, but I have made to rearrange the schedule so that all of us can really benefit from all these webinars or seminars that we are currently having. And once again, thank you very much for having me here. And it will be a very good opportunity, as mentioned earlier by our moderator, that and also the Dean, that this is an opportunity for us to do the collaboration work, because as a Muslim in the country are united, then the whole lot of system that we can build up for the halal pharmaceutical will be much, much easier, because the people around the world are waiting for it, and the even non-Muslim are looking very highly at this because of the economy aspect that embedded with the halal pharmaceutical, inshallah. All right, so we will start with this halal pharmaceutical, and I'm not just going to be focusing about the Halal Pharmacopeia, but also looking at a few other aspects that we have coming up very, very recently. Okay, and before I start, I would like to thanks and also a special gratitude to my colleague, Professor Dr. Zahari Ismail, who is the key person of Halal in Malaysia, and also Dr. Muhammad Ali Sheikh Wasir, who is also the Secretariat, General Secretariat for the Standard Metrology Institute for Islamic Countries that is stationed in Turkey. Dr. Muhammad Ali was our student, ours mean myself and Dr. Zahari's student, that started the whole scenario about the halal pharmacotherapy, halal pharmacopeia that we have doing and dealing with right now. All right, what are we going to do today? What are we going to discuss today? I would assume majority of our participants are from Indonesia. There might be few others from other country. I'm not so sure, but should at the end of the day you would like to ask question, you can always ask in Indonesia. Saya juga bisa ngomong dikit-dikit ya dalam bahasa Indonesia, karena udah sering kalau ke Bandung itu udah keberapa ya, ke-10 atau ke-11 kali kalau saya ke Bandung ya. Tapi kalau ke Indonesia itu sering kalinya dalam 1 tahun itu pasti akan sekurang-kurangnya 10 universitas saya akan hadir di Indonesia setiap tahun. So inshallah it can be done, and we will try to speak in both bahasa Indonesia and also in English. Okay, all right, let's see what is the scope of our discussion here. Okay, I'm going to focus a little bit about the halal pharmaceutical and what is the current situation, because as last few weeks there has been some new things coming up with the Halal Pharmacopeia and so on, and the challenges, and also what are some of the opportunity that might we be facing. And of course, at the end of the day, we are talking about the halal services in the industry and entrepreneurs in halal industries, inshallah. All right, these are the things that we're going to be looking at. You know, I'm putting here as a artificial intelligence. Why are we concerned about the artificial intelligence here? Because whether we like it or not, the halal industry has to face this kind of coming up. You know, like right now for 2 years, all of us has to be at home. You know, we have our lectures at home. Most of us initially are not really well versed with the e-learn, with the webinar, Zoom, and then suddenly everybody has to be online to learn, or even forced to learn about how we're going to use the technology in teaching. And so goes with the halal concept. You know, we cannot just focus on what we are doing right now with the current situation. We have to move away from the latest and the most advanced technology that may help the halal industry, and also looking at the of research and also services that we might be offering. All right, let's see what we have at this point, okay, for the halal pharmaceutical. All right, when we are talking about halal pharmaceutical, it means that any other ingredients that, including excipient that are permitted by Islamic rule, that is a Sharia rule, and they definitely cannot have any part of the products that contain animals which are non-halal, and or any parts of the byproduct or product of the animal which are not being slaughtered according to the Islamic rule. So these are the concepts where most of us need to understand. I mean, for the Islamic country, people might understand, but if you go to the Western countries that you know, which might not be understanding about the issue, then we might have problem in telling them what are these issue and what not. I still remember I was sent by WHO to go to Mongolia, you know, and then though they don't eat so much pig over there, but the chicken over there is not slaughtered according to the Muslim rules, you know. So I told them that I don't take a chicken at that point because of the non-halal thing, and they don't understand what it is. So they are saying, I thought you cannot only eat pig, you know, but chicken I thought you can. So I told them to make it easy. Actually, I'm vegetarian. Solve the problem. You know, it makes things much easier for them to understand that people, there are certain part of the world are not really fully understanding what it is. You know, to them, probably they thought it just about pork, it is just about pig that cannot be taken by Muslim, but it involves more than that. You know, all these pharmaceutical things should be free from najis material, and this is not just the finished product. It has to be started from the very beginning. That is the raw material, and then the processing operation, and at the end of the day, the packaging may also involve in all these kind of things. It was very interesting to learn that some of the non-Muslim countries has already advanced in doing all these things. That was the reason I'm saying that the you know, we have to use technology to improve our halal pharmaceutical and so on. So you can see one of the cheapest organ and also byproduct that can be used in pharmaceutical is from pig. You know, China are producing more than how many millions, 100 millions of pig per year, and some of these are being slaughtered to be used as the component of the medications and also other things that related to it. You know, there are the blood are being used, you know, they are using a lot of things. So basically, when we are talking about pharmaceutical things, there are might be the biggest contribution is from pig and also from the cow itself. You know, there are elements of the other raw material that we have to be alert about, blood, about alcohol, and so on. But majority of the things that we are looking at, if you look at some of the medication, some of those are being derived from pig-based kind of things. All right. So what are we looking at here? So what we need to do is to justify the halal or haram product. It's not just simply, oh, this is halal and this is haram. You know, we are not talking about something that is already proven is halal or is already proven is haram product. So we are talking about medication. Say for example, we have one medication of this brand. We don't know whether it is halal or haram. So what we have to do is to look at all those things. But how do we know that this particular thing is haram or halal? You know, we cannot just assume that this product is actually good and it is halal because it's coming from this Muslim country. You have to remember that probably the medication is being produced in that particular Muslim country, but the raw material is not from them. The raw material can come from anywhere, you know, from anywhere under the in the globe that could be having some problem with halalness of that particular product. And this is where the Halal Pharmacopeia or halal ingredient of certain things need to be ruled out and look into that very, very stringently. There are cosmetic, there are food, there are pharmaceutical that involve with many chemicals from different sources. And some of these sources, for example, there are enzyme, there are culture media, there are raw material, there are excipient, there are a genetic modified organism, and also additive that are being put there. And a lot of this component with the processing aids may have that problem when we are talking about the halalness. So there has to be some guidelines somehow, you know, for us to see what will help the halal industry to really face it in a halal form, you know. So this is where initially, when we did the Halal Pharmacopeia, it was meant for only those countries, you know. But once we have discussed with OIC and also SMEC, which is SMIC just now that I've mentioned to you, it turned out to be that it has to be done at the global part rather than at the individual country, because at the end of the day, the whole people will only focus only one concept. Currently, for example, you know, we are talking about the halal certification of certain product. Many countries have their own, and some of the products are being recognized in some of the other countries, but the other countries might not recognize the other way. So what we are doing right now is to make it more efficient by having at one point that is at the SMIC and also OIC, so that all the countries in the world will be utilizing this and using the same guideline for the standard to evaluate about the halalness of the pharmaceutical and so on. All right. So this is where apoteker itu memainkan peranan yang cukup besar. Biotechnologies playing a very good roles in there. The medical doctors should be utilizing all those things, and even engineering and all the other people who are involving in the production of the pharmaceutical need to understand that this concept has to be rely on the certain guidelines and things like that. Okay, so in science and technology for halal, there's a lot of things that need to be looked at. You know, the replacement for shuhabah ingredients. We have a halal standard. We have to have a halal QC, halal forensic lab, a halal logistic for the traceable, and definitely at the end of the day, after the raw materials, the production, the products are being used, logistic are being taken care of. The consumer have to understand about the halal consumer education. You know, some of the people are just knowing up to logistic, but for the halal education are being left over. So this is where all of us as a key players in halal pharmaceutical and also the rest of the halal product should be focusing on all these things. So when we are talking about the pharmacopeia itself, you know, the guideline, the things, it will begin from the raw materials. You know, where does this raw material getting from? You know, say for example, if that raw material is already in a very skeptical part where we are suspicious that it is not 100% halal, then most probably the product at the end of the day is not halal. You know, so being halal of certain product is not to be tested, but it has to be started with halal component so that you do not have to spend so much to test the product at the end of the day. Why should you test if your product is already a confirmed halal from the very beginning? You know, so the halal Toyiban product should be viewed from the very beginning, from the raw material to the production, and the production has to has a setup of a very good concept of halal. From the very beginning to the products, to the logistic, and at the end of the day to the consumer, so that the consumer understand what it is in terms of the halalness, so that we can also track the forensic lab for routine checking, medicinal product, and also ICT tracking for halalness of this kind of condition. All right, these are some of the things that you're going to be looking at, you know, when we are talking about pharmaceutical product and medicine. It can be either from chemical, and it can be either from any natural products, plants, or whatever that come up with. So these are the two main sources that we have. But again, with the chemical, things can be synthesized, and how it is being synthesized, we need to look at it, you know. And there are also medical products which are animal based, which may be utilizing a lot of things from pig to sheep to goat, horses, chicken, and all the other animal, up to insects even, that going to make some of the pharmaceutical product, including cosmetic and so on. And you might not realize, ladies, with your even single lipstick, for example, if you are not, you know, you don't know what is the ingredient, you might see that some of the ingredients of the lipstick, which is internationally recognized, that some of this product contain some of the things which is not really halal. You know, it goes from the vomitus of the fish, goes from the sperm of the certain animals, gelatin from pork, and base from the pig sauces, and it can goes from insect for the coloring agent, and so on and so forth. And there are also biotechnology components that are being used together with the product for the pharmaceutical. Okay, so when we are talking about that, as I've mentioned just now, technology plays a very important role for us to really evaluate what we are and how we are coming with this, because halal is going to be one of the largest economy contribution in the world in years to come. All right. So this is where you will be looking at. We are looking at the Muslim consumers with a lot of conditions that using haram pharmaceutical product with 1,000 of masbuk product. We are looking at the current situation. All right. And there are also fatwa by some Muslim consumers that since we do not have the choices, you can always use the haram drugs as an alternative. But most of the things that they are not looking for the halal, but rather than use whatever the current situation is. And around the world, there has been studies to show that the Muslim doctors and also the pharmacists that take the responsible more seriously. There are people who are selling non-halal product in their pharmacy. Even when I was doing Umrah, I noted that some of the brand, which is confirmed non-halal, is being sold in Medina and also Mecca. So these are the things that you have to be really concerned. People have to be alert. The Muslim doctors, Muslim pharmacists need to be alert about this kind of responsibility. And by having, as I've mentioned to you, the guideline in the Pharmacopeia will help to have a basic guideline for all of us to be accepted as a halal pharmaceutical product. All right. Right now, there is no list that contains all the haram pharmaceutical. Dr. Ali, Muhammad Ali Wasif was the one that together with myself and Dr. Prof. Zahari, we are trying to look at what are the ingredients of the non-halal in the product that we have already looked at in Malaysia. So these are the things, but unfortunately, we do not have that say a guideline that shows all the haram pharmaceuticals so far. And until now, the medical and the pharmacy school in Islamic countries did not seriously teach subject that regarding for the doctors and for the doctors and also the pharmacists to really have a basic fiqh principle that related to halal and haram pharmaceutical. We just learn about it in terms of management or the product that has been finished, but in the school, it was very rarely that we're being taught so. Most of the haram medicine have halal alternative, but no one lists this alternative until now. We already have started doing those, but again, we need to gather a number of things so that we can have a standardized alternative for this kind of products. Majority of the haram pharmaceutical can become halal with the minimum halal certification process, and this may contribute to a low-cost research, meaning to say, if everybody is sitting down together, coming up with a consensus that we're going to use this kind of thing, agreeable to this kind of method, then at the end of the day, the whole Muslim world will see how we can benefit from this listing in so-called pharmacopoeia and so on. All right. So the halal awareness, is very limited right now. If you go to any other part of the world, you go to, say, a non-Muslim country in the Western areas, when you say whether this product is halal or not, probably they are looking only majority of it in terms of food. It's not so much about the pharmaceutical products and so on. It's very limited comparing to the other condition. At the same time, also people like us, the educators, researchers, we need to be alert about the situation to educate people who are really concerned about this, and a lot of research has to be done to make people aware about the situation of halalness of certain products, whether it is pharmaceutical, cosmetic, or nutraceutical products, and the different producing scientific reference is another issue that will be a great more things, because currently everybody is focusing on the Western world for references. So this is where the Halal Pharmacopeia and also the development of the guideline for this particular thing is very, very much needed. And the concern regarding the halal is increasing. The patients started to request for it. The doctors and the pharmacists answers the questions regarding the halal product of certain things. And you can realize that when they go to the pharmacy or to the apotheke, they begin to ask whether this product is a halal product or a non-halal product. Say, for example, the easiest one that you can see, heparin sodium injection. It is derived from porcine intestinal mucosa, and it's stated very clearly there it is from pork, from pork base. So this is where some of the things that we have to be really, really concerned, because some of us, we are just looking at the drugs, but we are not looking at where does this drug come from. You're just thinking, oh, every drug in a Muslim countries definitely is going to be halal. And these are some of the potential drugs that are already been noted to have a non-halal or haram component in those things. And the question is, do we have alternative? Yes, we do. But of course, you have to search for it. And this is where the Halal Pharmacopeia will be consistently all the components of the elements that need to be used around the world, not just in Malaysia per se or Indonesia per se, but it has to be around the world so that it is noted and accepted globally. Based on that thing, we already have done what are the pig-based pharmaceutical. These books that we've been produced by us at the School of Pharmaceutical Sciences many years ago. First week of the release has been top in Australia and few other parts of the world, because people wanting to know about this particular index, the halal index thing. So Alhamdulillah, we have come up with this, and we already are making a lot of other aspect with the things, and we are also referring some of the a lot of work has been done to look at few other monographs that like a BP 2012 that contains about 3,200 of monograph, and it's only listed in that monograph only 129 stated as haram substances, and most of these are from vaccine, blood preparation, hemopathic preparation, and some of those are considered as musbah. So it's not just looking at specific works that has been done, but it's also whatever that we have in the around the world. Okay, so we find that there are 27 monographs that prepared from porcine or pig. This is we categorize as a red list, where it is confirmed from pig preparation. We have 13 monographs that prepared by bovine, and the monograph that are prepared from other animal sources like mammalian and so on, which also in that monograph they include porcine and bovine. And I have to tell you that the work to be done is really, really very extensive. We are not talking about just sitting down and abstract or whatever that it is, but we have to go through one by one to see and to let it confirm that these are the actual haram or halal or masbuh kind of things. So there are some medicine, we call them from red to green medicine, which have a halal alternative from now. And but again, at certain things in some of the biotech and recombinant DNA, there are certain portion of the preparation that consists haram sources, like they grow E. coli, for example, for certain DNA technology to extract certain kind of insulin or things like that. And that blood, which is being used as a main culture of certain agar, are being used by the source is from the porcine blood and so on. So we have about 44 monograph with the chemical and analogy and also DNA. We have about 11 monograph to get around. And we have 2 monograph that came from insects and 13 monograph that have animal without killing the animals, such as bear, horses, rabbit, and so on. So it was a huge amount of information that need to be digested. We also found that 13 monograph that consisting about human byproducts such as urine and also placenta, blood plasma, and so on. And there is 1 monograph from birds and chicken that are being used in the medicine and also pharmaceutical products. So you can see that pharmaceutical product is not just as simple as just what you see right now. It is just like the lipstick that you have in your handbag, It can consist at least 5 to 13 ingredients which you might be thinking you are not going to use it because of that particular product. As I've mentioned to you, there are sperm in it, there are vomitus of something in it, there are insect in it, there are extract of this, there are extract of that. So there are a number of things that we as a consumer need to know, and as a researcher and educators, we really have to focus on the issue of how to educate these consumers regarding the halalness of this product. And there are also about 16 monographs that we have found from the marine sources that are also utilized being in a medicine wise. So you can see, if you do not have a good technology to institute all this kind of big data in that particular research and also component for the guideline and pharmacopoeia, is going to be very tedious. You're going to take a long time of period to really settle down to get the things to be done accordingly. All right, these are just to give you example where the pig most that being used, from the pituitary gland to the bone and so on, all parts of the pig are being used. And this is what we get from the halal index. Say, for example, from the pig brain, we have all this drug that being derived. And I'm very sad to realize that even the mother, before they give birth, that they were given oxytocin for the baby to come out due to certain complications and things like that. And the product is already non-halal product. You can imagine that even the baby, even the pure, clean, suci, anak yang lahir ke bumi itu, sebelum dilahirkan udah dicemari dengan oxytocin, which is not halal, and it is derived from the brain of a pig. So you can see that the number of drugs there are being utilized, especially from hormone and so on. They are derived from brain, pig brain. There are drugs that being taken from the from the heart, example, prostacyclin. From the liver, we have the vitamin D, arachidonic acid, uricase, and so on. From the stomach, we have pepsin, mucin, and I've just shown you the mucosa of the heparin that being used from the mucosa, intestinal mucosa of a pig with that. There are also gelatin that being used, chondroitin, which is used for the those people who are having problem with the joint. These are the things that being taken from the pig itself. And when we are talking about fat, for example, glycerol, stearic acid, and lard are very commonly obtained from the source of pig. Internal mucosa, as I've mentioned just now, you can see a lot of drugs that is here is being used in the hospital. Danaparoid, enoxaparin, antigrastroron, heparin, nidroparin, reviparin, tinzaparin. Those are very commonly used drugs. So we have to have a alternative to it, and the index, the halal index that we have done, give a basic alternative what to use and how we can utilize. Not all drugs that we have a alternative, but majority of it we do have. Unfortunately, the doctors, the pharmacists might not be realizing about the situation. And this is again cholic acid that we have. It's derived from the bile, a secretin from the genome of the pig, a calcitonin, vitamin D from the thyroid of the pig, the lung that we have, defibrotide, for example, are being used and being extracted from the lung of a pig. Estradiol, beside taking from the urine of a horse, female pregnant horse, it is also being taken from ovaries of pig, you know, and also kallikrein from the submaxillary gland, and amylase, insulin, lipase, pancreolipase, semi-synthetic human insulin. All of these are being taken from the biggest portion is from the pig component. In this case, pancreas. So you can see a lot of things that are being generated from a pig, and that was the reason why pig are being utilized. A lot of it because a Muslim does not really look into the alternative into that. But now, alhamdulillah, today's world, we are more particular about the halalness of the pharmaceutical, food, cosmetic, and so on. So we are looking at all those things. So again, like gelatin are being taken from the skin, they are being taken from the connective tissue, from the general organ, from the bone, for the production of this kind of things. So as a Muslim, we have to be really cautious about all these things, and we are hoping that by having a good pharmacopeia and also guideline, it will help Muslim to deal with what to choose, what to do with all that kind of situation. All right, today's world is about COVID. You know, everybody is talking about COVID, and everybody is dealing with the vaccine and so on. So these are the things that we need to look at and how things can be done in that particular way. Okay, and this is just a little bit why we are focusing on this SMIC and Halal Pharmaceutical. There is a Standard and Metrology Institute for Islamic countries. This is where all the guidelines in the world, in each of the country, will be pulled together so that it's only one guideline to be used by all countries in the world. So it will not come into another conflict stories. You know, Indonesia have a standard for its own, Malaysia has its own, Turkey has its own, Pakistan, India, China, blah, blah, blah. So at the end of the day, I accept yours, you did not accept mine, I didn't accept the other part of the standard. So we don't want that to happen. So this is where SMIC, the Standard and Metrology Institute for Islamic countries, come into the consensus that all the things, or the pharmacopeia and the guideline has to become one, so that it will be accepted by the whole Muslim country in the world. So what is it? This SMIC is a regional standardization bodies, just like the standard in Indonesia, BSN, if I'm not mistaken. It is established in 2010, and the headquarters is located in Istanbul, Turkey, and all OIC member states are a part of it. You know, they can be to date, there are about 45 member states and 3 observers members, but there are increasing numbers. And the main objective of this unit is to prepare the OIC SMIC standard so that it can be utilized, as I mentioned, by the whole world, not just one specific place like only Turkey use it, only Malaysia use it, and so on. No, the whole world will be looking at this to provide some technical assistance to the state members, countries, establish an assessment scheme, and so on. So that was the reason why until today, due to the COVID for the 2 years, we are slightly delayed in releasing the pharmacopoeia because a lot of new things coming up, especially with a vaccine production that need to be observed and so on. Okay, the OIC and SMIC halal standard are also a result of the technical committees from the institution, from the technical part of it, that are looking all these standards so that it become a common standard for Muslim world and all the interested parties, especially in the economic part of it. And the timeline is that the first meeting was started back in October 2018. Jakarta Declaration was important by then. It started to establish the halal pharmaceutical and vaccine standard, and Smith is the platform that having that standard. And during that halal summit in 2018, there was a special session for halal pharmaceutical. I was there, and I was delivering a part of the halal pharmaceutical lectures for Malaysia at that point. And we have a Istanbul Declaration to promote some of these halal things, including vaccine, biological, excipient, which also includes some of the other conditions to promote the halal pharmaceutical curriculum and halal pharmacopeia as a block of a halal pharmaceutical field. At that 2018, the World Summit Halal November, I presented the curriculum, the halal pharmaceutical curriculum for university to be used for all the university in the world, so that we can have a very specific timeline and academic curriculum that to be used in the halal pharmaceutical field. And again, in 2019, I was there again to propose the technical activity for the halal pharmaceutical, and I did present at that point with the halal cosmetic that to be used among the consumers around the world. And the suggestion was accepted with the 10 participant members country, and at that point in June 2019, one observer country was given. At that point again, the instead of, they call it as Halal Pharmacopeia, all the countries agreed that to have a halal pharmaceutical issues that include the standard, that includes the guideline, that include all the other things that related to it, rather than one specific things, just pharmacopeia per se. So we are looking at the scope of standardization in the field of halal pharmaceutical, which again, not limited to the manufacturing and handling of pharmaceutical, but including the Islamic rule, academic part of it, technical part of it, and Malaysia suggested that to be done. So if any of the party are really interested to have the syllabus for halal syllabus, Alhamdulillah, I have created that syllabus and can be shared, no problem. Because the kalau dibilang, kalau dalam bahasa Indonesianya itu ya, ilmu itu untuk dikongsi, bukan untuk dikunci. What I mean to say is that the knowledge is meant to be shared, not to be locked up, so that when you lock up, when you pass away, only you knows about that product. But if you share with others, the whole world will get to know what that product is, and inshallah you will get a lot of more benefit from that kind of things. Malaysia has suggested at that point for the halal pharmaceutical with the general requirement, and we have the SMIC with the technical committee of 16 WG, with the current members of Malaysia, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Senegal, Indonesia, Bosnia at that point in 2020. Okay, and the first meeting was conducted online because of the COVID condition. In general, we agreed with the Halal Pharmaceutical, with the general arrangement for the requirements, and we come into consensus that there's a lot of other things that need to be done since past 2 years, since past COVID that we have. Inshallah, the general rules will be, the meeting details will be released this November, in the next few weeks, in term for that particular things. These are the technical committees of the 16 countries, and currently we have about 12 participant members, including some of the countries like the one that I have listed here, including Indonesia and Malaysia, and 5 members of observer, which is Egypt, Pakistan, Libya, Palestine, Russia, and Emirate. And also some of the other things that related with the vaccine, for example, in the part 2 requirement for biopharmaceutical, and part 3 for the health supplement and nutraceutical. So we already have make it up so that it will become one big component for the whole world, for the Muslim world, and also the economic focus on the halal product, going to see what it is, so that we can be at one point the focal point of the issue for halal pharmaceutical and the related products by then. Okay, again here I'm putting about the technology. Sometimes we thought that it works that way, but unfortunately, without a better technology and better things to rely on the ingredients and so on, we really need a very good technology to look into all these things. Otherwise, it's going to take many years before we complete all these guidelines and also the issues that related to halal pharmaceutical. All right, so this is where we need to look at, we are not looking just pharmaceutical to build in the things, but it has to be from the very beginning. As I've mentioned, the halal product should begin with the halal raw material till the end with the logistic, and then to the consumers. It's not just like once a product is finished, you test it whether it is halal or not. Halal is not about testing the product, but the halalness of the product should begin from the very beginning. So it includes all the activities that I have mentioned. From where does that chemical testing being done, and they have to be certified halal and so on and so forth, because before the product are being produced and distributed to the other part of the world. These are the standard that we are using right now, and of course we are looking at certain things and the common majority accepted opinion. These are the example of the standard example, the ethanol, the difference between ethanol and also kamar, which is Arab kamar, which is not accepted 100%, but there are preparation in some of the medical product with the amount of ethanol which is being acceptable for certain issues. So again, here is where we as an entrepreneurs in halal pharmaceutical need to be looked at. You are facing a artificial intelligence with the pharmaceutical and healthcare. So whether you like it or you don't like it, you have to deal with it accordingly. And we as a Muslim country, in looking at the economic aspect for this, we really need to venture, we really need to really focus into all these things so that the whatever that we do is the benefit, not just for our university, not just for our country, but is meant for the whole nation of Muslim country in the world. Okay, so with all those kind of things, Halal Pharmaceutical, we can see that it is still very new in terms of numbers of research and product. You know, it's still very premature as compared to halal food and cosmetic, and practically most of the registered halal product are from OTC medicine and also the dietary supplement, which is over-the-counter product. And the most consumers tend to believe whatever the company claims regarding the halalness of the product. And I still remember, you know, back in, I think more than 10 years ago, we are talking about halal capsule. And what I did was I tested the number of capsule that was in the market in Malaysia. And out of 10, 7 are not halal, even though all the 7 claim that it is halal. You know, so this is where I really, we all of us, you cannot just believe whatever the company claims, because one of the products, say for example, it claims to be a vegetarian because that particular product is meant basically for Muslim and also Hindus, but it consists of pig and also cow gelatin when we analyze it, you know. So this is not really right for Muslim to use it, definitely because it's pork. And of course, for other religion like Hindus, they cannot use a product that based by a cow, for example. So this is the current situation of the halal pharmaceutical. And as I've mentioned, it is still very limited to dietary supplements. And a lot of things are being focused right now to make it halal pharmaceuticals, that there are a number of countries, number of companies already have done that. Say, for example, in Malaysia, we have Duo Pharma, CCM, which are already certified halal, and a lot of ranges of OTC product, and some of the drugs that being used are already certified halal, and so on. And these are the products that being sent not just for Malaysia, but it's also being sent throughout the world because of the halal product and certified halal by some of the product they produce. This is again Pharmaniaga. They have all the Sunnah products that looking at some of the injection to be certified. iMedicare is one of the famous halal pharmaceutical companies that produce IV preparation, and we have bovine heparin instead of porcine heparin preparation that is imported from Brazil, and we work closely with the Brazil company to have that particular things for Malaysia, product for heparin. The halal gel with the tooth and soft gel capsule, toothpaste. It is closed right now, but some of these people are working with another big companies that come out with a few halal products. AJ Biologic, which is a factory in Austria with the Saudi companies over there looking at some of the injectables and so on. Some of the other products are Bosch, VCF, and so on and so forth, you know, Blackmores and vitamins. And some of these are the things that you noted, you know, you already see some of the preparation. Even UK, for example, they have a halal liquid preparation that are meant to be used for certain preparation for patients specifically. You know, these are from Brunei, that is approved by Canada, and the contract there is for Brunei with Sim4 Pharma, and a lot of other things that we can actually utilize the benefit of halal, you know. And it is from this Halal Pharmacopeia and also the Halal Pharmaceutical listing guidelines and so on that will help us in this kind of things. So the opportunity is huge in business, engineering, the new product development covers the whole range of market, you know, for the product development. And this is what it is supposed to be, from the new product strategy to the ideas generation to the new product. Definitely the first thing that needed to be here is to understood the concept of about halal pharmaceutical. And that was the reason why I introduced the syllabus for halal pharmaceutical to be used in all universities in the world, so that we are not just learning about halal pharmaceutical from the company part, but we already developed from the basic, a young chap from the first degree, dari S1-nya sampai S2-nya, kemudiannya ke S3-nya untuk specialization. Then we can understand the concept, and we do not have a problem in producing the development process. Okay, so the drug discovery, as mentioned, and usually one drug are being approved by health authority after 2 years. So we have to be very, very fast because of the technology that need to be looked at. And as I've mentioned, you know, from the stage 1, from drug discovery, we might find 10,000 compound. With the preclinical development, goes down to 5 compound, and at the end of the day, probably just end up with 1 compound, which is having halal and also can be used for human safety and also efficacy wise. So look for the opportunity. You know, we have technology to develop with the biotechnology, with the extraction, which is much better, with a different kind of instrument that we can use. So utilize that, see the opportunity ahead of us. And I would highly recommend everybody to work together, because we cannot work in silo. Malaysia cannot work alone. Indonesia cannot work alone, because at the end of the day, we will have a contrasting ideas from each other. We have to work together. This is the basic things with the ummah. You know, the togetherness is something that we have to be agreed upon, because at the end of the day, we are talking about a halal pharmaceutical, you know, which is going to be utilized around the world by Muslim and also by non-Muslim, because non-Muslim is also looking at us, because the product is supposed to be much better than the product with a non-halal concern in that sense. Okay, so I just get the a few things with the how to develop the halal pharmaceutical, get the halal certified for the herbal products, the chemicals that are going to be used, and then you know, if people make it with the haram things, find an alternative to it. What you want to do is just like you are doing the cakes, the recipe. You know, instead of using this, you may also use that. You know, so do that accordingly, and inshallah, the recipe is going to be good. You may change some of the excipient with the current existing thing. If they use gelatin from pork, then substitute with the gelatin or anything that may help to improve the product by using more halal condition and also preparation. You know, if you need to change the source of the active ingredient, change it, but the formulation need to be changed accordingly too. And also the some of the other ingredient that together we have it. And we work together, you know, from the other part of the world. We are working with Mexico, we are working with Brazil, we are working with other countries around the world in terms of vaccine, in terms of other drugs that to be utilized daily in the hospital. Okay, so what we have to do is that at the end of the day, we try to get a good pattern for this and get the formulation pattern for this, and inshallah, the Muslim world is going to be looked up by most of the other pharmaceutical big companies of looking at the pharmaceutical halal pharmaceutical product here. Okay, and of course, the research has to be done. There are about 400 chemicals, which is haram or mashbuh at this point, meaning to say we have 400 opportunities with the market size to deal with if we are looking at the, you know, the other alternative for this, you know. So these are the halal pharmaceutical opportunity index that was created during 2019 presentation of the World Halal Summit in Turkey, and these are the basic index that to be used. And Alhamdulillah, my student, my former student, who is a currently Secretariat General for the SMIC, Dr. Muhammad Ali Shehwase, he was the one that introduced into this index, and inshallah it's going to be used, and a lot of other changes, because I know that my time is almost finishing right now. The challenge and the opportunity. See, I'm giving you some of the examples, you know, Botox, you know, the halal botulinum toxin. Some of the preparation for Botox, example, contain najis and haram material, which is not halal, plus some of the haram's enzyme that obtained from non-halal sources. Is a big market. You know, Botox is a big market, estimated at 3 billion for Muslim countries. But of course, the research time and cost is very small compared to profit. Aesthetic medicine, this is a thing that you can look at, you know, where the implant, the device, the anti-wrinkle products are the one that we are looking at. So take the opportunity. We have all those things. A dermal filler also for aesthetic product, you know, halal hyaluronic acid. The culture is not again not halal, and of course estimated is very huge, 4.5 billion, and you can see that all these things untuk kecantikan, for aesthetic purposes, balung ayam yang warna merah itu sering digunakan untuk ibu-ibu atau wanita-wanita yang memerlukan injection for the keanjalan kulit, ya. But some of these are not being these chicken are not be slaughtered accordingly. Jadi kerana itu ianya tidak halal, diambil daripada ayam yang telah mati atau apa begitu kan. Jadi kita nggak tahu halalnya itu. Jadi it's a big product, it's a big business here. So for the filler, these are some of the things that you have. Halal azathioprine, as I've mentioned, heparin ini sering digunakan di hospital. Setiap kali ada pembedahan, setiap kali perlukan apa saja yang berkaitan dengan darah itu, you need to have this kind of thing. But we do have halal azathioprine, halal heparin as an alternative, but you have to find the things and discuss accordingly with all these people. It's a big opportunity for us. It's a very essential utilizing of the things, and claim the product pattern and process, and inshallah we will go there and we will be there. Okay, same goes with the gelatin sponge that we have for dental and things like that. There are a lot of gelatin sponge which are halal right now, you know. So bear in mind that if we do a lot of research, we do a lot of things, this halal pharmaceutical gonna be it will be owned by Muslim, and is gonna be done by Muslim and for the other part of the world in terms of economic and so on. So the halal here we are talking about is about the halal raw material, halal culture media, halal analysis laboratory, the byproduct of the things that we have, and more other opportunities is going to be there. Is it worth it? Yes, it is. It's much better than things. It probably that at the initial part that you have to invest a little bit more, but it is worth it to do so, you know. So this is where the product of the halal is going to be there, and the people are going to be buying all the halal product and so on. So be alert about the market before you start it, and as I've mentioned, do not trust any claim by whoever mentioned that it is halal and so on. But again, justify, look at it, and if the product is already finished, test it for it. But if we want to start, don't do the product and then we test it. We have to start from the very beginning, the raw material. How do we know? Inshallah, the raw material and all the lists will be coming out very soon, and inshallah we will help all the other people in the world to come out with this kind of things. So with the halal services, there's a lot of things that can be obtained from the hospital, from the all halal food service, hospitality, medical device. And at the end of the day, I would like to conclude that at this point, we are still with the halal pharmaceutical, we are still on the surface of it, and we need to discover all the deep halal pharmaceutical, because if Malaysia have done so much, Indonesia have done so much, there might be some other countries, Muslim country in other part of the world might not be doing anything at all. They are just looking at us and hoping that we can do things together and so on and so forth. But again, this is where we should come together to be as a one whole system for a standard for halal pharmaceutical, which may have many advantages, definitely. And is again, as I've mentioned, with the halal pharmaceutical and also the listing of the haram and also halal products that we might have will be beneficially benefit for us religiously and also financially, and for the healthcare. Definitely, this is a kind of blessing for all of us that if we have alternative for some of the medication that we have. And of course, I do pray that since we have a number of a lot of countries in OIC, but with a different mazhab and a different point of view, let's come into one conclusion so that we can come together to developing the main pharmaceutical halal guideline for Ummah, and that is where we are heading right now. So as I've mentioned, the proposing of the things are going to be released in a few weeks from now by the Smith to the whole organizing committee and also the TC16 that I've mentioned just now. Inshallah, once we get that, we can always collaborate. The University Islam Bandung and USM can always collaborate on this. And as I've mentioned, should you need to see all this requirement that what you want to have and want our expertise to help the school of FMIPA over in your university, I'll be more than happy to do that. With that, thank you very much. Terima kasih Bapak-Bapak, Ibu-Ibu, and all the people. Mudah-mudahan ilmu yang diberikan ini bermanfaat untuk semua. Kalau ada kekurangan, itu adalah daripada saya, dan sesungguhnya yang bagus dan yang elok itu adalah daripada Allah Subhanahu wa taala. Jadi saya akhiri dengan ucapan wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Prof. Syed, for the elaboration.
Yeah. Saya stop sharing ya?
Yeah, Prof.
Okay, bye. Ini saya share, stop sharingnya di sini. Okay, alright. Okay, kembali kepada moderator.
Ya, terima kasih, Prof.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next speech will be delivered by Apotheker Diar Herawati, Master of Science. However, before going on her speech, I'd like to read her curriculum vitae. She is a pharmacy lecturer of Unisba, and she is also a chief of Halal Science Research Group, Faculty of Mathematics and Natural Science. She graduated from School of Pharmacy Institute Teknologi Bandung. From 2017, she is active as a coordinator for food and medicine in Unisba, part of the team of Halal Center for Food and Medicine West Java Province, assessor and pharmacy contributor at Safety and Halal Product for City and Province. Apotheker Diar Herawati, Master of Science, has a certificate as a national auditor and province facilitator for halal food and pharmaceutical. She's going to explain about safety in halal issues. To all the participants, please remember that you can provide your question in the chat room, either using English or Bahasa Indonesia. The question will be answered after this session. All right, without further ado, Apotheker Diar Herawati, Master of Science, the stage is yours.
Okay, thank you, Miss Moderator, Ibu Hanifa Rahma, for the time for me. Okay. Can you hear my voice now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the complete and excellent presentation, Professor Syed. Before my presentation, I just want to complete your presentation from the another side, in safety in halal issue. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Have you spirit to hear my presentation? Because we know there is the time before lunch is the sleepy time, with full of stomach, I think. So I hope you have the spirit for hear my presentation. Okay. My name is Diar Herawati. I'm a lecturer in Department of Pharmacy, and I have a group research in Faculty Mathematics and Natural Science, especially in halal science issue. In presentation, in Professor Syed presentation, we hear about we couldn't start halal from the end, but we need the strong idea in research and education. So I want to present about the safety in halal issue. Next. Next. Okay, it is our campus. It is Unisba in Taman Sari Street. We know that Bandung is educating city. So Taman Sari Street is educating street. Universities stay there, like ITB, Unisba, Unpas, and near to Unpad too. So it is very important street in Bandung. Okay, it is the closed situation in pandemic situation. Okay, next. Next slide. Okay. Okay. Can you make, okay. For the first, I want to present about the facts. The biggest market in world halal market. It is the nowadays fact that the biggest market in world halal market has been reached year by year. You can see the biggest halal market size offers $100 billion in red area like Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, and Turkey. And in orange area, we can see the halal market size more than $50 to $100 billion in many nations like Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt. And in Russia, we can see the 30 to 50 halal market size in US billion dollars. And many countries like China, Kazakhstan, Sudan in yellow area, and less $10 billion in many Europe nation. Okay, it is OIC countries, OIC, the nation that's spelled in Professor Syed's presentation. Okay, it is the halal market size has been reached year by year. Okay, it is the biggest market. So next slide. Next slide. We can see the comparison of halal needs. The data I took from ASEAN Nets. It is the real condition nowadays that global halal industry has many has many factors like media for 23%, food 43%, cosmetic just 5%, pharmaceutical 7%, tourism 8%, and clothing 23%. So we can see the fact that pharmaceutical smaller than clothing, just 7% to 23%. Why too small? We know that pharmaceutical and health is one of basic needs in people's life. It is our thing too. Okay. In other side, we know in pandemic situation, the pharmaceutical market is rich, has been rich, week, month, month. So it is the odd thing, I think. Okay, next slide. We can see the data about halal importers and exporters. We can see many nations as the big importers. We can see about consumer like Indonesia, Turkey, Pakistan, Egypt, Bangladesh, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. And in other side, we can see the exporter nation like Brazil, Australia, India, France, China, Sweden, and Netherlands. It is different side. Different side is just not about importers and exporters. It is about the producer and consumer effects. It is a very interesting, I think. Okay, next slide. Okay. It is last side about the economical reason. We can see 30 million, more than 30 million UMK, usaha menengah kecil, or we can see micro business in Indonesia that have the certified, halal certified, because in Indonesia now halal is mandatory. So all of UMKM or micro business would choose halal certified today. It is a biggest and bigger economical business in Indonesia. Next slide. Okay. As pharmacists, I want to know, is it just about economical reasons? And why halal? In other side, we know that the mother science of pharmacy is toxicology. Toxicology is about safety. And economical reason is not strong enough for the reasons vision in research and in education. Okay. But also we need a special issue for halal pharmaceutical. Okay. We know that pharmacy in pharmaceutical products aims to fit safety, efficacy, and quality standard of pharmaceutical. So I want to present about safety and halal issue. How the correlation about safety and halal issue. Next slide. It is the facts. Nowadays, the economic is the biggest reason to improving halal regulation and halal research. The government in Indonesia with the Department of Trade, Department of Industry, it is present about halal regulation and halal research with the economical reason, all about economical reason. But the economical reason, it's not enough. Again, for be the reason in research and in education. Okay. But also we know that drugs or pharmaceutical safety is one of the hottest topics in daily medical practice, particularly with regard to improving new medication or questioning the possibility of withdrawing a drug in the market. when the market we get the problem in safety, so the government always withdrawing the drug from the market. And the third facts, we know for today, pharmaceutical safety regulation is ambiguous in halal assurance activities. So where is halal requirement? It is the fourth number reason about quality of pharmacy. After safety, efficacy, and quality, so what the fourth number? It is the halal. It is the other side. So yeah, it is the reason why I present this presentation. In slide before, we can see the fact about Europe as the smallest nation in halal market. But in other side, we know that the biggest pharmaceutical producer is in Europe. So we can make hubungan gitu ya, the correlation between the smallest nation in halal market and the biggest producer in pharmaceutical. In other side, Professor Syed said that the halal industry is premature like that, it's premature step, I think. So we need the alternative view to make the halal issue in pharmaceutical. Next slide. Okay. The objective of my presentation is to explore the halal and thayyiban concept with references to drug safety. Like Professor Syed presentation before, and thayyiban is healthy concept. So the second, we need to call for harmonization of halal assurance standard, including drug safety requirements, because with the safety requirements, the halal reset, halal Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Bapak Ibu, mohon maaf, kami sedang mengalami kendala teknis. Oh, Bu Diar sudah join kembali, Ibu?
Sudah.
Oh ya,
Maaf.
enggak Ibu, ya.
Okay. Next slide, Bu. Okay. You can see the basic of safety concept in pharmacy. It is the first theory of our conventional theory. The UFS uncertainty factor as the first theory is conventional theory. It is the margin of safety or margin of exposure. How we can get the UFS factors? We can get from extrapolating from animal toxicity data to safe levels of human exposure to additive and residues. The UF concept is integrated into health risk assessment for all aspects of current public health practice. Here we can see the graphic, how to extrapolating dose, lethal dose to environmental exposure. You can see the uncertainty factor. It is the first theory or conventional theory. Okay, next slide. The UFS application in toxicity prediction have 5 factors. For the first, UFA, UFH, UFL, UFS, and UFD. The area of uncertainty, UFA is animal to human, UFH is average human to sensitive human, UFL is the area of uncertainty before loyal to noel. Loyal is the lowest dose of effect, and noel is those where we cannot see the effect. And UFS is short-term to long-term exposure, and UFD is database in insufficiency. Okay, because the toxicity is the mother science of pharmacy, so I think it's very important to study and reach the basic principle of toxicity before we have the research in Halal Pharmaceutical. Okay, we can see the basic principle. For the first, UFA is adjust for differences in sensitive between animals and the average human when the POG is based on animal studies. For the second, adjust the POG for differences between the average human and the most sensitive applicable subpopulation. And for UFL, we can see the adjust for uncertainty in the value of the POG as an estimate of the threshold for the onset of effect based on loyal and noel. And for UFS, basic principle is adjust for the possibility of identifying a lower POG for chronic toxicity when extrapolating from a study of shorter duration. And for UFD, we can see the basic principle about adjust for the possibility of identifying a lower POG or more sensitive effects if additional studies were available. It's all a very complex and rigid procedure, very accurate in toxicity prediction. Okay, so we can see another alternative toxicity theory in the next slide. Okay, it is the second theory. What is safety? We can answer answer with the second theory. The second theory is new improving in safety study using artificial intelligence of computer based. How safety one substance? We can see in silico chemical safety assessment theory. The in silico chemical safety assessment theory is safety assessment with computer-based or modeling application. The evaluation of hazard and risk following potential exposure to a substance to implement in silico methods, such as quantitative structure activity relationship or QSRs and read across to assess the potential harm in pharmaceuticals or others. We can see the role. For the first in silico models, we need problem formulation, data, technology, application, and implementation. So we can get a rich in silico model. If it's acceptance, we can enter the next step. There is animal-free safety assessment or conventional theory like UFS in slide before. So in silico, it is very impactful in safety assessment with conventional theory like UFS to complete the data about the safety. Okay, next slide. Okay, in silico in safety, we can get from in silico in safety for the first information on mechanism of action, exposure, and use case scenarios, as well as the more traditional and accept use for toxicity prediction. We can use it for many halal or haram or risk substance. And the second gives free energy in structure interaction assessment. We can see how much value from gives energy. We can see the safety from the value. And the search about toxicological ranking with many procedures. And toxicological data and information are crucial to in silico safety assessment, not only in terms of availability, but also their abundance and quality. Okay, how in silico or computerization approach called assessment in safety assessment, we can implement it for halal and haram substance. Okay, so we see the next slides. What is halal? Halal is fulfill the Sharia requirement. Sharia is Islamic laws. Halal product is product no contain substitutes from pig, najis, khamr or alcohol, and animal slaughtering without the name of Allah, and carcass, bangkai. And many definition about carcass from many fatwa, many fatwa or Islamic laws. So it is all about the halal. Next. So we can see about halal standards. Halal standard in Indonesia. The new era of halal Indonesia is Undang-Undang JPH UJPH, or Law of Halal Assurance in Indonesia. It is mandatory from 2014 in Indonesia. The halal is mandatory for all substance in Indonesia. And the second is has 23,000 as quality standard in industry in halal Indonesia. And in Malaysia, we know about halal Malaysia from Jakit, like Professor Syed said. Okay, it is halal standard. Okay, next slide. Okay. We know that halal is product no contain substitute from pig, from najis, carcass, khamr, alcohol, and animal slaughtering without the name of Allah. So we can assess the safety with in silico approachment or with the conventional theory like UFS. So now I want to present short conclusion about 3 research about safety in halal pharmaceutical. For the first is reactivity of hydroxyproline to encephalitis receptor or NMDA receptor, methyl diaspartate. It is our research last year with computer approach or in silico. And the second and third research, ethanol toxicity from Anthony G. et al. 2021 in this year, and impact of pork consumption on human health for Yambiki et al. 2020. But the second and third research, it is all about literature review, not real research, just literature review. So it is worth to use as the reason in research. I think if we have many research in safety research, we can get the most, the more impactful in halal pharmaceutical issue. Because the second entry just literature review, but I want to reach another research about halal and safety research in pharmaceutical. It's limited, very limited in many publications. So it is the defect, and we have to improving the research in halal perspective. Next slide. Okay. For our research about reactivity of hydroxyproline to encephalitis receptor or NMDAR and methyl diaspartate, we can see about the hydroxyproline found in gelatin hydrolyzed but variation mammalian 70% and fish 3%. Yeah, hydroxyproline as the ingredient in gelatin, it is very essential to make the elasticity and the good matrix for gelatin, so we can use the gelatin for many pharmaceutical needs like capsule or for thickener. Okay. The content of glycine, proline, modified as hydroxyproline, and arginine in porcine gelatin were higher than bovine. It is the facts. The highest is bovine and the porcine and fish for the third. In other side, we know that encephalitis is an inflammation of the brain by parenchymal virus infection. There is another cause of encephalitis which is caused by autoimmune NMDA receptors, are receptors responsible for encephalitis. Okay. The purpose of our study was to study safety based on the activity between hydroxyproline composition of NMDA receptor in silico compared to their natural ligand, MGL tools version 1.5.6 and Autodoc tools version 4.2 as the software. Okay. The study, secondly, toxicity study with Kramer-Rolls method as the ranking of toxicity studies. Okay, next slide. It's the figure about our study, interaction between substance and receptor. For the first, the figure about hydroxyproline with NMDA receptor with delta G, yeah, the minus 4.94, and deserine with NMDA receptor delta G, the minus 6.35. Okay. The figure shows that hydroxyproline compounds have a low risk of security to NMDA receptor because of the docking results obtained free energy bond compared to natural ligand like deserine of. So deserine, it's the natural ligands, and hydroxyproline is the ancient ligand from the gelatin. It is predicted that the affinity of hydroxyproline bonds to receptor is very strong and has a low risk of security. It is the first conclusion. And next slide. Okay. In our study, we rank the toxicity of hydroxyproline and deserine with Kramer-Rolls method and cross TTC or decision tree and Begini or Bosa rule based. We can see the rank of toxicity of hydroxyproline is high, class 3, deserine high, class 3, but in cross TTC, the substance would not be expected to be a safety concern. Deserine substance would not be expected to be a safety concern. And with Begini or Bosa rule based toxicity rank, the negative or genotoxic and non-genotoxic carcinogenicity, same with deserine, negative for genotoxic and non-genotoxic carcinogenicity. The Kramer-Rolls is study toxicity level based on structure functional group, cross TTC design tree, is method to predict level of exposure, Begini Bosa rule based parameter to predict carcinogenicity and mutagenicity. So we can see that the hydroxyproline has the risk bigger to receptor NMDA receptor than the serine as natural ligand. So it's the facts.
Mohon maaf Bapak Ibu, kami sedang mengalami kesalahan teknis, mohon ditunggu sebentar. Bu Diar, apa sudah bisa bergabung, Ibu? Oh, sudah.
I'm sorry.
Bu Diar, apa sudah bisa bergabung kembali, Ibu?
Sudah.
Mangga dilanjutkan, Ibu.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, we can see the second reasons about halal safety, but also I just literature review from Anthony J. et al. In ResearchGate 2022. It is criteria for diagnosing alcohol intoxication include known or admitted ingestion of alcohol, behavior change, clinical signs, including slurred speech, incoordination, nystagmus, memory loss, and lack of another condition to account for the symptoms. It is the statistical research based on clinical data. Is it enough to be a reason for you and me as Muslim pharmacists to research? I think we need the more research, not just about literature review, but with the real research, I think. Okay. Next slide. Okay, it is the third research in safety in halal pharmaceutical. The title about impact of pork consumption on human health from Unisba et al. 2022. However, there have always been strong opposition to pork consumption for different reasons all over the world. Some of the key points expressed by the opponents are the risk of bacterial, virus, parasitic infection, toxin, cause of cancer and heart disease, bacterial resistance, as well as harms due to the cooking process. And similarities such as anatomical structure, physiological features, organ systems, nutrition, tissue compatibilities, susceptibility to similars, and disease between pigs and human are also the other factors to threaten human health. The two conclusions from Yarichi, it's important, but it's just literature review. We need the strongest reason with the in vitro or in vivo or in silico research as the real research to get the strongest reason to get the research in halal pharmaceutical. Okay, the last slide. The next slide. It is my last slide, the conclusion. There are many safety issues in pharmaceutical, besides that very limited study from halal perspective. Not very limited, by very limited study from halal perspective. Safety research in halal perspective could solve the ambiguous in halal assurance activities. We don't need the fourth factor or for the four requirements in pharmaceutical after safety, efficacy, and quality, but we can make the correlation between the safety with the halal in one point. And for the third, scientific base in halal research is very important to fulfill halal requirement in pharmaceutical. So halal in safety, it's not premature issue. This is a strong vision in research and educating in halal pharmaceutical. It is enough to be the reason for you and me as pharmacists to research, to educating student, to training student, to have the halal view in pharmaceutical, more than economical value, I think. Next slide. We in halal research group in natural and mathematical faculty science try to mapping the halal pharmaceutical research. It is our idea. We can make the mapping with the bond fish like this. As the major bonds, we have to research about importance of halal issues in safety, efficacy, and quality perspective. So if the major bonds is strong, we could to entering the next research about analysis the haram for the first, like PCR, rapid test, or many diagnostic. For the second, we can make research about halal alternative natural sources or halal substitution, like Professor Syed and team research. It's a very good and excellent research, I think. Like isolation, peptidomimetic synthesis, and extra. And for the third, halal regulation is very important because the regulation in Indonesia and Malaysia is different in our region. It's very different, between pharmaceutical, beverage. It's many standards of halal regulation. So in halal regulation research, we can explore about certification and socialization in community. For the next idea in halal pharmaceutical research, we need technology of purification like chromatography, extraction with sand, etc. Technology of purification is a sensitive issue in halal vaccine, especially in COVID virus, in COVID vaccine. I think SARS-CoV-2 vaccine, it is a very essential. And for the next research, we think about halal formulation technology. We have to explore about an alternative or nanomedicine to improve. For information, we know that from the pig, from the cow, it have saturation lower than the haram gelatin, like pig gelatin. So we can solve with nanomedicine, for example. And the last, we need to explore about halal medicine in clinical regulation, Sharia hospital, extra. So 6 research specific with the major research in importance of halal issue in safety, efficacy, and quality perspective could make the halal pharmaceutical research it's not too premature, with strong vision and strong reason to improving from the first year for student for student like tingkat 1 in bachelor, like S1 in pharmacy. I think we can build it from the start. We can build it from the start. Okay. Thank you. It's all. And next slide. Big thanks from me to Professor Selamat Ibrahim Apotheker from Salman Halal Center from ITB, Salman Masjid, and Professor Zari Ismail Pharmaceutical from USM Malaysia. He has been sick, I heard from today. And big thanks to Abdul Qudus PhD, Dean of my Faculty Mathematics and Natural Science in Unisba, Dr. Sudar Apotheker, Head of Pharmacy Department Unisba, and the last for my team in Halal Science Research Group. We can because we can, I hope. Okay, thank you. It's all. Next slides. It is the limited references, because limited references for safety in halal issue from Anthony, Bustilus, Mariawan, Mastukis, Kirosid, and Yavinci. Okay, thank you. Next slide. It's all my presentation. The short presentation by, I hope the new insight about research and educating in halal pharmaceutical can improving our halal research quality, especially in pharmaceutical research. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Thank you, Apotheker Diar Herawati, Master of Science, for the elaboration. The next session is going to be an open discussion. We have some question in the chat room. Professor Syed. Okay. The first question is Professor Syed. Food products sold in the market are written as halal food. Are there other characteristics of the products to be recognized so the consumer are not deceived?
Okay, sorry, I mute my mic. Yeah, if we look at the product, like food, it's very difficult to recognize, say, something is base, because sometimes it's not the things. Say, for example, you use lard, how would you know the lard is in that particular cake, for example? How would you know blood of pig that are being utilized in preparation certain biscuit or something? You don't know. So that was the reason why we said that we have to have a standardized things, meaning regardless whether it's food, nutraceutical or pharmaceutical, they have to come up with a certificate, say for example, the raw materials, which raw materials that you use that are not certified by halal bodies, then the product is not halal. We are not going to be tested that product again, because it's going to cost a lot, so that was meant to be what is going to be in years to come, inshallah, that the product to be used and to be certified as halal, it has to be there. And the question why does a pig is always in all the product, from the medicine, from the food, because it is cheap. China are producing about more than 600 million pigs per year. You can imagine that's how much of the skin are being grafted for that purposes. Every single pig are being used and being utilized. For example, when we did the halal index, for example, the colleague that doing all those things, they actually go to the pig place to see, what was wasted. It was almost nothing being wasted. From the tail until the nose, everything is being used. So you can see that Why? Because it's just cheap, because all the body parts are being used accordingly. And that was the reason why majority of the pharmaceutical industry will utilize pig as an easy sources. And say, for example, if you use gelatin from fish, it's going to be slightly expensive because of the not many company producing it, and it's very expensive compared to pig products. Yeah.
Okay.
Get back to Hanifa. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Professor. And number 2 from Zakaria Daud. Halal pharmaceutical raw material is very important to manufacture halal pharmaceutical finished products. What is available printing document or reference for halal pharmaceutical ingredients?
Okay. As per now, inshallah, as I've mentioned, by next week, we might have the details of what are some of the products and so on and so forth. So once the Smith and OIC release the documents, so inshallah, we will look into that. We already have some, but it is not complete. So we're going to see that which country producing what and which halal status that was really holding it up. So hopefully by having that document, we're going to see the much better perspective in the raw material and so on. So inshallah, Mr. Zakaria, so just wait, inshallah, we will try to utilize and get the information accordingly.
Okay. There's actually a question from the chat box from Adinda from Halal Pharmaceutical. I'm a regulatory affairs in pharmaceutical industry. Sometimes I'm thinking why always pork is used in pharmaceutical. Because of pork, we need to work hard for screening the raw material to register to get pharmaceutical halal certification.
Yeah, itu yang saya bilang tadi ya. Pork is very cheap. Pork is very cheap. That was the reason in a regulatory board, you cannot just base on the product information. Once they do not have the halal certificate, then you have to query about the halalness, but once they give the halal certificate and so on, and it is certified halal by whatever bodies that certify it. So inshallah, it is certified halal. That was the reason why we are now, you try to use only one guideline, so that if I follow Russian guideline, you follow Malaysian guideline, the other follow Pakistan guideline, it's going to be different. And everybody can misuse that kind of guideline. So once we have only one guideline to be used by whole country in the world, then it will be solidly dependent on that particular country using this particular stamping only. So nobody can really make it forged or make it falsely used for that particular certification. So pray hard that if everything is in the pipeline happening, so kerja di Badan POM lagi kurang itu regulatory, karena semuanya udah terbatas, semuanya udah ada guideline and so on. Kurang dikit, tapi masalah yang lainnya masih banyak itu soalnya ya.
Terima kasih, Prof. Kemudian ada pertanyaan lagi, Prof.
Kurang dari segi untuk menghafal.
Yeah, baik, Prof.
Okay.
Let's move to another question. Are plant-based pharmaceutical ingredients all are halal? Is there any plant-based ingredient that frequently used by pharmaceutical industry but actually taste haram?
A lot. As Diar has mentioned just now, there's a lot of things. One of those is stearic acid that being used regularly as a step, one of the component. Gelatin is being used regularly, not just pharmaceutical, just like cosmetic, because I was doing cosmetic, halal cosmetic. Very recently, I presented in the World Halal Summit. One of the component is urine. being used, you know. So ladies, you are using things which you don't know, and then you thought that everything is so beautiful, and you have somebody's urine on your lips, you know, or somebody's placenta on your lips for that particular purpose, you know. So a lot of things. That was the reason why all the products that need to be certified halal, we have to know the components specifically. What are the active ingredient? Where does this active ingredient come from? What are the excipient? Where does this excipient come from? Do they certify halal and so on? That was the reason why we have to start from the very beginning, the raw material, rather than once the product is finished, oh, we detected urine here, placenta there, sperm here, you know, the vomitus of whatever animal we utilize back in that thing. At the end of the day, the product looks beautiful, you know, it's just like, wow, one beautiful lipstick, but the content, you will not use it once you know what is the content. That's why I say use halal certified cosmetic. Inshallah, there's a lot in Indonesia and Malaysia. It is pretty easy to get because it's quite a lot. But for the branded one, be alert about some of this product.
Yes, thank you, Professor. And we have a question for Bu Diar. Dalam bahasa Indonesia, Ibu ya. Apakah tantangan terbesar dalam memproduksi sediaan farmasi yang halal?
Tantangan terbesar ya. Tantangan terbesar adalah informasi, the information of halal substitute. Yeah. The information of halal it's very limited, jadi sangat terbatas. Kebetulan saya the auditor nasional halal in Indonesia, so the big problems, masalah terbesarnya itu adalah kita belum punya aturannya. Kita belum punya aturannya. Professor Syed said about the halal like halal index like that, yeah. But the first importance is the information, the limited of information about halal substituents. In Halal Pharmaceutical, we need the halal substituent to formulate or mixing in sediaan farmasi gitu. But the limited information, jadi memang belum ada kejelasan mana bahan yang halal, mana yang haram, mana yang bukan halal, mungkin mana yang bahannya sumbernya dari babi atau bermasalah, mana yang bukan gitu. Di Indonesia kita belum punya ya, belum punya sama sekali panduannya begitu. It is the big problem because if we say about the regulation is a very mandatory. It's very strong that all the product in Indonesia have to halal certified. Jadi aturannya sudah ada gitu, tetapi panduannya belum ada. It is the big problem, I think. Okay, and the second, the important information, the second problem in pharmaceutical industry, I think it's about not just about economical, but the quality. Yeah, the quality of pig substituent is better than the another reason. Like in gelatin, seperti di dalam gelatin, pig gelatin is better than the cow gelatins. Itu faktanya gitu. Jadi memang selain alasan ekonomi, beberapa bahan atau substituen in pig ya, in pig it's better than the another source, a halal source like cow or fish. Okay, something like that. Okay, thank you.
Terima kasih Bu Diar atas jawabannya. Untuk Bapak Ibu, apakah ada yang ingin menanyakan untuk Prof Syed ataupun Ibu Diar? Boleh dalam bahasa Indonesia, Bapak Ibu?
Maybe I will ask to Professor.
Ya,
Silakan, Pak.
silakan.
Thank you. In the manufacture of medicinal preparations, it often happens that the problem with halal is in the excipients materials. On the other hand, the pharmaceutical companies, the factory, doesn't want to disclose the excipients, these excipient materials, because it is a secret. So how to solve this problem, especially in Malaysia?
Oke, ya itu makanya kalau dibilang mungkin bahan aktifnya semua orang tahu apanya ya, tetapi eksipien yang itu sedikit resepinya itu menjadi rahasia karena nggak mau orang curi resepi itu. Tetapi apa yang kita bisa lakukan adalah sebenarnya kita mahukan we do not have to have a how much of each of the ingredient, but we need to have a certificate of that particular ingredient. You know, misalnya ada ABC ingredientnya itu, tapi kita nggak mau tahu ingredientnya apa, tetapi kita mau tahu sertifikatnya itu dibeli dari mana. Kalau dari Cina disertifikatkan oleh siapa gitu. You know, so that was the reason. Without those nggak bisa, nggak halal, because we don't know whether it's really halal atau tidak, karena at the end of the day this is going to be consumed by a lot of Muslim. Jadi kalau kita luluskan aja begitu, soalnya nanti kita yang menanggung dosanya nanti, ya, karena lulusannya dari atas mengatakan bahwa ianya halal sedangkan ianya tidak. You know, so it has to be very amanah, very responsible things that we are looking at. So inshallah, some of the company that already have all those, they do not have to disclose all the excipient that they have, but they attach together with the certification. So this particular excipient, all of it are being purchased from company A di Shanghai. And that company A, untuk semua excipient ini sertifikatnya. Jadi sudah, insyaAllah ketentuan halalnya sudah ada di situ, unless forged ataupun sertifikat yang dipalsukan, which we also might need to detect. Kalau di dalam Badan POM misalnya mereka tahu kalau di sertifikat yang bukan asli itu ada something yang kita bisa detect sama anda bawah UV atau apa ya gitu ya, untuk melihat keasliannya. So that was the reason why the Pharmacopeia and the listing of all the guidelines should be there and should be used by everybody, because it's only one, rather than Malaysia is going to be used this Malaysian standard, Indonesia is going to be used Indonesian standard. At the end of the day, nobody is agreeable. Oh, it's product from this country. No, I don't want. So we are losing economically. So insyaAllah, begitulah Pak. Mungkin beda-beda sekarang at this point, mungkin beda-beda dari satu negara ke satu negara, but insyaAllah we are looking very positively on this aspect, and itu yang saya katakan bahwa we need to collaborate together. Kerjasama antara kita sama-sama ini bisa membawa ke arah yang lebih maju, because kalau kita bergabung Malaysia Indonesia sahaja pun sudah besar manfaatnya untuk all the other consumers in both countries, insyaAllah.
Alhamdulillah. Baik. Terima kasih Prof. Syed
Ya,
Azhar.
kembali.
And we really hope that in the future Unisba and USM can collaborate in research on this halal issue. Inshallah. Terima kasih.
Bisa. Inshallah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Ya.
Thank you, Pak Swender, for the question. And then Bundina Mulyanti.
Ya, Bu Rahma, maaf nggak bisa buka video. Ya, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof. Syed, thank you so much. Yeah, I prefer to talk in bahasa supaya lebih enak ya.
Udah saya juga bisa berbicara sedikit.
Betul, nanti main ke Bandung mungkin
bagus,
bisa.
Tapi
Bisa jalan-jalan di
silakan.
Bandung ya, Prof. Kalau ke Bandung kasih tahu.
Oh iya, udah belasan kali
Ya, mohon
saya di
maaf saya
Bandung.
nggak tampilkan.
Ya,
Betul.
silakan.
Gini, Prof. Ya, kebetulan background pendidikan saya di farmasi, saya fokus di bioteknologi. Jadi saya hanya penasaran sejauh apa Halal Index memposisikan uji-uji bioteknologi dalam menentukan halalness gitu ya. Apakah kemudian, karena kan kalau di Indonesia sendiri bioteknologi itu seperti masih high-tech gitu ya, kayak jauh dari jangkauan gitu, Prof. Nah, kalau di Malaysia sendiri bagaimana pendekatan yang digunakan di Halal Index sendiri gitu ya? Apakah memang ada beberapa raw materials yang kemudian harus dicek dengan PCR yang bagaimana misalnya seperti itu? Terima kasih, Prof.
Oke, sama-sama. Itu yang saya bilang. Setiap apa yang dilakukan itu harusnya bermula dari raw material, bukan untuk ditested. You know, if the raw material is already confirmed with certification of halal, then there's no need for us to do the testing. Because bila kita melakukan biotech ini, ia adalah satu proses yang rumit. Ya, it is not just the raw material. It started from say we culture certain bacteria in that culture. So there's majority of the bacteria or virus or whatever that we need to culture. The culture are using pork blood, pig blood, you know. So nggak nampak dengan mata kasar karena ia sudah berubah warna, bukan warna merah lagi, nampaknya seperti agar biasa. But the base is still using the enzyme, is still using some of the things. Even though yang di culture itu adalah E. coli misalnya, but it's still using the base that will produce extract the E. coli yang dimakan, that bahan-bahan di dalam itu, at the end of the day, is going to produce something which is not halal. You know, so artinya di sini, dalam apa sekalipun proses bioteknologi atau apa semua, kita harus melihat daripada segi, jangan produk itu hanya dites. Ia perlu pada asasnya itu sebelum sesuatu itu dilakukan, it's already proven it is halal. Sebab itu saya merasakan bahawa bila konsep itu berlaku, semua raw material factory will need to be certified. If they don't, then they will not get the a good market for halal product. So jadi Bu, kita harusnya memikirkan aspek sedemikian, karena percayalah untuk mengumpulkan maklumat-maklumat yang ada ini, saya sama teman-teman yang lain untuk satu BP 2012 itu, ya ampun, berapa bulan mau habis itu. You know, every day we have to go through, look at one by one, and that was why I said we need technology to utilize.
Tapi jadi possible ya, Prof, untuk step
possible,
back.
Tapi memerlukan kerjasama yang bukan seorang, artinya daripada harusnya daripada manufacturer kepada pemerintah juga, semua harus bekerja sama. Kalau kita sendiri nggak jadi itu soalnya. Karena orang akan bilang, oh, kenapa kamu sendiri yang menyukarkan, sedangkan kerajaannya bilang nggak apa-apa, langsung aja.
Ya. Karena di Indonesia dan Malaysia ada kemiripan ya, Prof. Ya.
Batan bahwa kerajaan mirip, karena kan industri-industri ini kan ramai yang nggak mau soalnya mengambil sertifikat halal begitu, karena ada cost-nya pada permulaannya itu. Tetapi setelah dilakukan semuanya itu nggak ada apa-apa, langsung aja jadi produksinya besar. So it just a matter of the initial, because di industri itu pernah melakukan production yang tidak halal, ia harus disamak, harus disamak the whole material. the whole machine, the whole process semennya atau apa segalanya harus disamak, dan ini memerlukan mungkin cost sedikit dan mungkin peralatan baru yang perlu beli atau apa gitu. Pada permulaannya aja, tapi carry on after that it is going to be easier for them, insyaallah.
So in my field, Prof, focus of the research itu bisa tidak ke how to develop the test, tapi how to found the source gitu ya, sebelumnya itu ya.
Sebelumnya produk itu yang kita katakan. Sekarangnya kalau kita fokus untuk cara tes ini, costnya sangat mahal. You know, we have to use PCR atau apa segala macam itu ya. Dan alat-alat ini tidak murah. Ya, satu alat itu sampai berapa puluh miliar. Begitu ya, dan it can be only utilized by few people, not many people. So kalau begitu kita jadi terbatas untuk kalau produk kita ada 200, sampai kapan? 1 tahun nggak habis itu, you know. So it has to be very conducive in carrying out all these things. Spain, some of the countries in the Western have already make that, and they find that product. Bisa dengar nggak?
Ya,
oke.
Thank you, Professor. Maybe
kembali.
Someday we will have the collaboration. Thank you so much.
Insyaallah kalau tidak karena COVID ini, saya pasti datang ke Bandung nih.
Insyaallah ditunggu, Prof. Terima kasih, Bu Rahma.
Ya, sama-sama Bu Dina. Okay, thank you for all the question. We really have interested discussion. The next item of the agenda is presentation of certificate for our speakers. Prof. Syed, thank you very much for sharing about Halal Pharmacopeia. Semoga ilmunya sangat bermanfaat sekali, Prof, untuk pengembangan pharmaceutical products ke depannya.
Alhamdulillah. Semoga semua kita sukses untuk ummah seluruhnya, insyaallah.
Amin. Okay, and the certificate for Apoteker Diar Herawati. Thank you Ibu Diar untuk sharing mengenai safety in halal issue. Ini tadi sertifikat untuk Prof. Syed Azhar bin Syed Sulaiman. Terima kasih sekali Prof sudah meluangkan waktunya.
Alhamdulillah.
Kemudian next certificate is Apoteker Diar Herawati. Terima kasih Bu Diar.
Sama-sama, terima kasih Bu. Profesor Syed, terima kasih.
Ya, sama-sama, kembali kita share the information sebagaimana yang saya kata, ilmu untuk dikongsi, bukan untuk dikunci. InsyaAllah.
Baik, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of this webinar. We have accomplished all the agenda today. I would like to give thanks to all speakers and to all participants. Again, thank you very much for your contribution and participation for today. I want to inform to all the participants, the recording of this webinar will be posted on Farmasi Unisba YouTube channel if you want to look back about this webinar. Also, the certificate and today's material will be uploaded in the link which are provided later in the Telegram group. So make sure you don't leave the group to be notified early. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, a set of activities in today's joint webinar has been done. On behalf of the committee, we all apologize for any shortcomings and technical problem during the webinar. However, we hope you have enjoyed your time with us and memorable event. I am Hanifa Rahma, your moderator for today, signing out. Thank you so much and have a good day. See you at the next webinar and please stay safe and healthy. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih banyak, Prof.
Terima kasih semua.
Thank
Terima
you so
kasih.
much.
Terima kasih. Insya Allah jumpa lagi.
Sehat selalu,
Alright.
Prof.
Oke, terima kasih. Jaga diri semua.
Iya, Prof. Amin.
Oke, amin. Assalamualaikum
Diar,
warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh.
Amin.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat untuk panitia. Alhamdulillah.
Hatur nuhun.
Alhamdulillah lancar. Hatur nuhun kesadayana.
Terima kasih Ibu, terima kasih Kak.
Kami
Hatur nuhun sadayana, hatur nuhun pisan, jazakumullah khairan.